Welcome. Everybody here is a legend, so, you know, that was your prerequisite for being invited. Lovely to see you guys. Good on you for coming on board. Yeah, so this is how it's going to kind of work. It's just going to be pretty relaxed. So what I used to say was, I'm a full-time muso. I teach during the week and play gigs on weekends.
Hi, I'm Athol. I am a stage manager, stage tech. Work mainly for the Screaming Jets. Was basically away every weekend for about 6 months. When I wasn't away, I was teching for bands that were coming through Adelaide.
So drummer from X-Men. I pretty much was just gigging on the weekends, worked during the day, and we're rocking out on the weekends and living the dream. And now that's all gone, just overnight, just gone.
Yeah, so I work 5 days a week doing a regular, normal, everyday job like a lot of people. And, just performing covers mostly a lot on the weekends.
Working during the day, kids, family life, the whole thing. My wife and I started a little business on the side as well. So before the gigs disappeared, I didn't stop at all, day and night. It was ridiculous.
Worked at a restaurant as much as I could. Of course, gigging the weekends, original and, covers. And, life was really good.
I'm Jacob. I work in a music store a few days a week, do a bit of teaching as well, and then weekends, by Thursday, if there's gigs going on, I'll try to do gigs.
I teach 5 days a week in 5 different schools, private schools around Adelaide. I run a business called Lennon Entertainment, and it's got rehearsal rooms, tuition and studios and whatever else. And then I gig 3-4 times a week in, week out. That's it.
My name's Mark Curtis. I play original music and write when I can. I'm currently at uni studying again. I play in a kids band. I play cover stuff here and there. Whatever I get asked to do, if I can fit it in, I do it. Basically all the stuff that musos do.
I freelance to the entertainment industry. If you need production support, stage management, event management, a performer, a writer, a director, a producer, a sound guy, a lighting guy, I just sort of, I dabble. I'm not great at anything, but I dabble in sort of any arena I can.
Still at uni doing my 3rd year of the jazz degree, which has been a living hell, but good, painful but good. I work at the Governor High Marsh, so, working in the venues at night and then doing like solo cover gigs. I also do a smidge of teaching and selling and fixing of guitars.
I'm a tech teacher Monday to Friday, obviously teaching years 8 to 12, and then basically come home on a Friday, kiss my kids and my wife goodbye, and then go and play gigs all weekend. So that's about me.
We're going to talk now about what is happening to you right now. The before time was me not being home very much. Now I'm basically home almost all the time. I freaked out quite a bit because I had no idea what was going to happen, but thankfully I was somewhat level-headed enough to be able to think, okay, well, if I can just do enough of the things that I usually do from week to week online, well, then I should be able to scrape by. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of one-on-one stuff online. I'm also doing some of my group sessions, and my gigs has turned into going to Dave Gleason's house once a week to do a live stream from his backyard.
Yeah, so basically my weekends are now home with my wife, and I will admit I'm loving being at home on weekends. My wife's loving me being home on weekends. I'm rebuilding our bathroom at the moment, much to my disgust. I also play in a local tribute band, and we've been doing a little bit of ISO recording and whatnot to keep ourselves busy, but it's just not the same.
I have a little bit of time on my hands because it was only the weeknights. I think what I've done now is I've stepped up probably more of my practicing. I still do, try to keep active, probably do a lot more fitness because I find I'm eating a lot more because, you just do that. Talk with the guys in the band on a regular basis. So, but we're still thinking about what songs we want to play and build a set list for when we come back out. So still trying to have that mindset of, hey, we're eventually going to get out. So when we do, we're pretty much ready. In my jam room, I've got pretty much all my lights set up. So I kind of like build shows. So it's given me a bit of time to build lighting shows because all our stuff is really automated. So it just keeps the mind active and all that. As for my wife, she hates it that I'm at home. She likes it when I'm away. So, hey, what do you do? She always says, can you go out and gig? I said, I can't even go.
It's been great, as Athol said, not being out on weekends and being home. How good? How good is it? Yeah, I've got so many little jobs done that have been sitting around for friggin' ever, getting them done. Like, it's wicked. And just having that weekend time with the family, like full days and stuff, and just not having to, sleep in a bit because I've finished at 4 a.m. in the morning or whatever. It's been really, really good for me.
Working during the day hasn't stopped, which is great, thankfully. Obviously, not gigging has meant there's been a downturn on income. However, I've cooked more barbecues than I've ever cooked before in my life. You know what I mean? And being at home with my family has been priceless. To the point where I'm a little bit scared of jumping back into gigging again.
Then COVID kind of happened and the gigs stopped. And then after the gigs have stopped, the restaurants shut. And after the restaurants shut, all the schools are postponing placements. So then that stops me finishing my degree early, which means, again, stops like a job prospect later down the track kind of thing. So it's kind of ruined me in that way kind of thing. But in saying that, I've been home a lot more, which is kind of, being good with my relationship, like for my relationship and the rest of it, which is great. I've been cooking more at home, which is good. Spending more time with the missus. So she's pretty happy.
Yeah, well, like I said, I work casually in a music store as well. Teach and do the gigs. They've all affected that area, or all of those areas. Being in the music store, people have more time to just practice. They've had that guitar that needs a restring that's been sitting in their cupboard and they've never had time because, they work 5 days. Maybe they work at a pub, lost work. So they've, people like that. So business is booming. That's what I'm saying. In terms of the teaching side of things, when schools shut up, a lot of schools have gone back, like at the moment, but there's still some that are not. Like one of the schools that I work at moved all of their instrumental lessons online. So most schools are pretty good and gone back, but there is a couple of schools I know that have staying with the Zoom thing. And then with the gigs, there's no gigs.
It's funny, the timing of this conference call with everyone, because as of this week, all of my 5 schools that I teach at have gone back in full capacity. So it's quite bittersweet because for the last 6 weeks, I've been isolated like everybody else. I found a new love for other things that I didn't have time for before. But now that school has gone back, it's really odd because in the schools, it's literally like nothing has ever happened. But in my own life, my shop's still closed. I'm still not gigging, and I've been gigging, 3 times a week since I left school every single weekend. So it's quite a shift, both financially and more important mentally, because there's sort of like an outlet there that I obviously took for granted before.
Before this, I guess I was in a stage of trying to scale back some of my gigging and some of my teaching, because being a songwriter and an original player, I guess it's kind of like, it's one of those things where I like to try and put that first, but when there's bills to pay and when you're getting offered things, it's just really hard to say no. So I'd find myself, I'd say yes to a wedding or a filling gig or whatever, and I'd have these sets to learn. So when I had spare time, I would spend my time learning lyrics, rehearsing songs, all that kind of thing, to try and be, you know, to try and get the job done as well as I could. But that also meant that I didn't have time to work on my stuff. At the moment, I'm doing honors at uni, and part of my uni course is producing an album's worth of my own material. So suddenly having all of my teaching and all of my other gigs kind of stopped. It's actually, I feel kind of bad because so many people that I've talked to have really had their lives stuffed around a lot. But for me, it's kind of only really been a positive thing, because it's just kind of meant that I don't have to worry about juggling all the things and trying to get it done. Instead, I've just had day after day after day of just, how do I flesh this song out? How do I record this song? If that guitar part isn't working, I can track it again. I can use a different microphone. I can do all the like really like fun but time consuming stuff that when you're trying to fit that in within a busy week, it's you either put it on the back burner or you half-ass it. So for me, it's just meant that like I've got one thing to do that I really enjoy doing, that I've wanted to do kind of desperately for the last couple of years. And I feel kind of fortunate that I'm ripe to do it. I'm ready to do it, and I have heaps of time to do it.
Just when this whole shutdown, lockdown, whatever you want to call it, started, I was working with everybody's favourite bear, Humphrey, and we were doing a series of fringe shows, and we just launched a new show that we took around to some old folks' homes. Old folks' homes are the first ones to close, of course, because they're the most at-risk group. So it was Friday the 13th of March. I got the call in the morning as I was getting ready to go to Semaphore, I think, to do one of our last shows, but they were cancelling it. And I sort of saw the writing on the wall at that point. I thought, if they're shutting stuff down on the day, I think the dominoes are going to start falling. So I braced myself for it. And yeah, I watched over the next 7 days, I watched my next 8 months of work just dry up everything through to September. So I went, okay, I applied for the dole and I got it, and I got in just before everybody else did. So I didn't go through all the malarkey with having to call up 300 times and wait and all that sort of business. I just put a claim through and it was accepted. So that's been a good thing as a bit of a safety net. My wife works. So we just decided that she would keep going to work and I would become a stay-at-home dad for the time being, which has been really beneficial.
I just came back from a study tour overseas. So I was away for a month before all of this. I got back like in the nick of time before everything crashed. I was at uni for like 1 week and then everything went online. So I'm studying online part-time. I'm doing a lot of gardening. I now have a vegetable patch. If you need some kale, let me know. Or fennel. I don't know what to do with fennel anymore. Yeah. So now I'm just sort of working on random instruments. So I did an online gig as well just before this.
That's right. I forgot to ask you before. Yeah. How'd that go?
It was awkward because I had technology difficulties and my shed door kept on slamming. But
I would have no idea about technical difficulties, right, Athol?
I'm learning this currently.
Oh, cool. What's that?
It's the bandura.
Yeah.
So, like, I used to play a whole lot of random instruments, so now I have more time to do that, which is good.
All right, so things didn't really change too much for me from a day-to-day during the week because I was going to school and teaching the 3 kids out of my 25 that would turn up to my class, and we had to plan all this extra stuff for online learning and do all of that sort of thing, and it was crazy. So adapting to that was kind of ridiculous. The last gig I played, I remember sort of sitting there going, I reckon things are going to get pretty serious here and they're going to shut us down. And then when the writing was on the wall, I kind of looked at it and I went, I'm in a pretty good spot here. So I actually gave up my last gig because I was to somebody that would obviously need it a bit more. That's a full-time muso, because I thought, well, I'm still getting a steady paycheck and I'm very lucky to have family that support me and I don't know, I've got a pretty good life, so that's the way I sort of saw it. But I sort of dove into the online sort of world and had a bit of a play around with that and ended up at Jode's house with Jacob and trying to get them sorted out with all their online streaming.
Yeah, thanks for that.
That's all good. And then that happened, and then some things didn't work and that frustrated me, so I came home and sat here and worked out shit. And then we've been doing a live stream with the band every sort of Friday night, and I've been doing a couple of random ones. I did a couple of people's birthdays that wanted a bit of live music that they couldn't go out and do anything. But yeah, I'm just trying to look at the positives in it and the things that we can learn. I don't like to sit still too much, so I try to keep myself as busy as I can. But it's been good to be home and do some things around the house.
All right. So this is great. I'm loving hearing all of your different versions of it's same but different.